Chapter 1. My younger boss wants me. The first time I noticed the way he looked at me, I told myself I was imagining it. It was late evening in the office. The kind of quiet that hums in your ears. Most of the staff had left. Only the cleaners moved like ghosts between cubicles, their carts squeaking softly against the polished floor. I was still at my desk, staring at numbers that refused to make sense. My eyes burned, but I didn't dare go home early. I never did. Still here, Ms. Hana. His voice came from behind me, warm and smooth, too young for the authority it carried. I turned slowly. Armin Rahim. 32 years old. CEO. Owner of the company my late husband had once dreamed of working for. The company that now paid my rent, my son's school fees, my mother's medication. The company that kept me breathing. Yes, sir. I replied quickly, lowering my eyes. I'm almost done. He stepped closer to my desk. I could smell his cologne, something subtle, expensive. It didn't belong in the same world as my simple cotton blouse and worn-out heels. You don't have to stay this late every night, he said. I forced a small smile. I do if I want to keep up. His silence lingered. I felt it like a hand, resting gently between my shoulder blades. You're one of the best employees here, he said softly. You don't have to prove anything. I didn't answer, because proving myself was all I had left. After my husband died 3 years ago, everything else had slipped through my fingers like sand. Friends stopped calling. His family blamed me for his accident. Even my own relatives looked at me with pity, as if I had failed at something essential. Widow. Such a heavy word for a woman only 37. Armin pulled the chair from the desk beside mine and sat down. My heart skipped in confusion. CEOs didn't sit beside accountants at 10 at night. Can I ask you something personal? He said. My hands tightened on the keyboard. Sir. Why do you always look like you're about to disappear? His question cut deeper than it should have. I stared at the screen. The blinking cursor mocked me. I don't understand. You smile politely. You do your work perfectly. But your eyes... He paused. They look tired of living. I swallowed. He shouldn't see that. No one should. It's nothing, I whispered. Just life. He studied me for a long moment. And for the first time, I noticed something in his expression that wasn't authority. It was concern. That scared me more than anger ever could. I don't like seeing you like this, he said quietly. I let out a small, bitter laugh before I could stop myself. With all respect, sir, I don't think my face is part of company performance. It's not. Then it shouldn't matter. It matters to me. The air between us shifted. I finally looked at him properly. His jaw was tense, his eyes unwavering. He wasn't joking. My heart began to race. Sir, I said carefully. I think you're being too kind. I'm not being kind. The way he said it made my pulse stutter. He stood up abruptly. running a hand through his hair, as if frustrated with himself. You should go home. It's late. I nodded quickly, grateful for the escape. I shut down my computer and gathered my bag. My fingers trembled slightly. As I walked past him, he spoke again. Hannah. I froze. Yes. Have dinner with me tomorrow. The words fell softly, calmly, as if he had rehearsed them. My chest tightened. Sir. I don't think that's appropriate. It's just dinner? You're my boss. And you're a woman who hasn't smiled sincerely in 3 years. The hallway felt smaller. I have a son, I said, as if that explained everything. I know. People will talk. They already do. That stung. I don't care what people say, he continued. I care that you look like you're carrying the weight of the world alone. Because I was. But that didn't mean he could carry it for me. I can't. I whispered. His face fell, just slightly. He recovered quickly, nodding once. Understood. He stepped aside to let me pass. I walked toward the elevator, my heart pounding so loudly, I could hear it in my ears. I pressed the button and stared at the closed doors. Why did his voice linger in my mind? Why did the thought of him waiting for my answer tomorrow make my chest ache? The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. Just before they closed, I saw him still standing there, watching me. Not like a boss. Like a man. That night, I lay awake long after my son had fallen asleep beside me. His small hand rested on my arm, warm and trusting. I stared at the ceiling and thought about the impossible. He was 5 years younger than me. Young enough that people would whisper. Old enough to know better. What could he possibly want with a tired widow who came home smelling of paperwork and exhaustion? The next morning, I avoided his office. But by noon, his assistant appeared at my desk. Mr. Arman wants to see you. Oh, of course he did. I smoothed my hair and walked to his office, each step heavy with dread. When I entered, he was standing by the window, sunlight framing him like something out of a painting. He turned when he heard me. I won't ask again, he said gently. But I meant what I said. Why? The word escaped before I could stop it. Why me? He walked closer. Because you're strong without realizing it. Because you love your son like he's your entire world. Because you never complain even when life has been cruel to you. That's not love. I whispered. That's survival. Maybe I want to be part of that survival. My breath caught. You don't even know me. I've been watching you for 2 years. 2 years. My heart skipped. I don't want your pity, I said sharply. His expression hardened. It's not pity. Then what is it? He hesitated. And for a moment, the confident CEO disappeared. In his place stood a man uncertain of his own feelings. It's something I can't seem to ignore. Silence swallowed the room. I'm older than you, I said. I know. I come with a child. I know. I come with grief. He stepped closer until I could feel the warmth of him. I'm not afraid of that. But I was. Afraid of hope. Afraid of what people would say. Afraid of letting someone close enough to see the cracks inside me. I need time, I whispered. His eyes softened. I'll wait. And somehow, those two words felt heavier than any confession. I'll wait. The words followed me long after I left his office. I told myself they were just words. Promises were easy to make in sunlight, filled rooms with glass walls and polished floors. Life was different outside those walls, where bills piled up like quiet threats and children asked questions you weren't strong enough to answer. That evening, rain fell as I walked to the bus stop. Cold, steady rain that blurred the city lights into trembling halos. I didn't open my umbrella right away. I let the water soak into my hair, my clothes, as if I deserved to feel uncomfortable. I kept hearing his voice. I'll wait. Why would a man like him wait for a woman like me? When I reached home, my son rushed toward me. Mama! He wrapped his small arms around my waist, his cheek pressing into my damp blouse. His warmth melted something fragile inside me. You're wet. He frowned. You'll get sick. I'm strong, I said softly, brushing his hair back. Stronger than I look. He smiled, satisfied with that answer. After dinner, while he colored at the table, he looked up suddenly. Mama. Wes. Why don't you smile like other moms? The crayon slipped from my fingers. What do you mean? At school, when other moms pick up their kids, they laugh. You don't laugh. I swallowed carefully. Do you want me to laugh more? He nodded, innocent and honest. You look sad. I don't like it. I turned away quickly, pretending to wash the dishes. The water ran too loudly. Children saw everything. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat beside the window and stared at the city. I remembered being 25. I remembered falling in love without fear. I remembered believing that life only moved forward, not backward. Grief had aged me more than time ever could. The next day at work, I tried to act normal. I buried myself in spreadsheets, avoided the executive floor, avoided eye contact with anyone who might notice the storm inside me. But fate, or maybe something more stubborn, had other plans. Near lunchtime, Armin appeared at my desk. No announcement, no assistant. He stood there, hands in his pockets, looking strangely nervous. Walk with me, he said quietly. I hesitated. Every pair of eyes in the department seemed to lift at once. Whispers didn't need words. They lived in glances. Sir, I'm working. It won't take long. There was something in his tone that didn't allow refusal. I stood. The hallway felt longer than usual. My heels clicked against the floor, echoing my racing heart. We stepped into the private elevator, reserved for executives. The doors closed with a soft chime. The silence inside was suffocating. You look like you didn't sleep, he said gently. I have responsibilities. You think I don't? That's not what I meant. He turned to face me fully. Then what did you mean? I stared at the floor indicator instead of him. You're young, I said finally. You have options. You could choose someone lighter. Someone who doesn't carry history. And you think I don't carry history? The elevator stopped. The doors opened to the rooftop garden, an area rarely used during office hours. The wind was soft, carrying the scent of distant rain. He stepped out first. I followed reluctantly. Do you know why I work the way I do? He asked. Because you're ambitious? He gave a small, humorless smile. Because my father built this company and left me with debts I didn't create. Because if I fail, hundreds of families suffer. I blinked. I had never heard him speak of his father. He died thinking I wasn't good enough. Armin continued quietly. So don't talk to me about being young and without burdens. The vulnerability in his voice startled me. I didn't know. I murmured. You didn't ask. The wind lifted a strand of my hair across my face. He reached out instinctively, then stopped himself before touching me. That pause hurt more than if he had touched me. I'm not asking you to erase your past, he said. I'm asking you to let me be part of your present. And what happens when you regret it? I whispered. When people mock you? When your family disapproves? I've been mocked before. I survived. You don't understand society, I said bitterly. A widow with a child is not a romantic story. It's baggage. His eyes darkened. Don't ever call yourself baggage. It's reality. It's cruelty, he corrected. Silence stretched between us. You think I haven't heard the whispers, he continued. That you trapped your husband into marriage. That you're cold. That you're difficult. My breath caught. Who said that? It doesn't matter. It mattered to me. I didn't know people thought that. They think a lot of things. None of them know you. His gaze softened. I do. You don't? I insisted weakly. I know you stay late not for promotions, but because you're afraid of going home to silence. I know you skip lunch to save money for your son's school trip. I know you keep painkillers in your drawer for headaches you pretend are nothing. My chest tightened painfully. How had he noticed all of that? I watch because I care, he said. The word care trembled in the air. You deserve more than survival, Hannah. I felt tears burn behind my eyes. I hadn't cried in front of anyone in years. You make it sound easy, I said hoarsely. It's not easy, he replied. But it's possible. And what about my son? I want to meet him. The simplicity of that statement shook me. You can't just walk into a child's life. I wouldn't. I would earn it. My heart pounded violently. Why are you doing this? I demanded. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. The wind grew stronger, whipping around us like a warning. I want you. The confession hung between us, fragile and terrifying. I stepped back instinctively. This is a mistake. Is it? He asked softly. Yes. Look at me and say you feel nothing. I forced myself to meet his eyes. And that was my undoing. Because what I saw there wasn't impulse. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't a game. It was patience, and something dangerously close to love. I can't, I whispered. Can't what? Risk breaking again. His expression softened painfully. I'm not him, he said gently. I know. But grief doesn't listen to logic. He took a slow breath. I won't pressure you. But don't run from something that hasn't hurt you yet. The sky darkened above us, clouds gathering once more. I need to protect my son, I said quietly. And I want to protect both of you. The words were too heavy, too much. I need time, I repeated. He nodded once. I told you. I'll wait. But this time, when he said it, there was something fragile beneath the confidence. And for the first time, I wondered how long a man like him could truly wait for a woman like me. And for the first time, I wondered how long a man like him could truly wait for a woman like me. Days passed, but nothing felt normal anymore. The office air seemed thicker, charged with something unspoken. Every time Armin walked into a room, I felt it before I saw him. My pulse would shift, my breath would shorten, and I would hate myself for reacting at all. He kept his promise. He didn't pressure me. He didn't corner me in hallways or send late, night messages. He treated me the same as before in meetings. Professional, composed, distant. But sometimes, when our eyes met across the conference table, something quiet and patient flickered in his gaze. And that patience terrified me more than pursuit ever could. One afternoon, as I was reviewing reports, my phone vibrated. It was my son's school. My heart dropped instantly. Hello, Mrs. Hana? This is the school nurse. Your son has a fever. It's quite high. We recommend you pick him up immediately. The world narrowed. I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said, already grabbing my bag. I rushed out without thinking, not even stopping to inform anyone properly. My hands shook as I waited for the elevator. Please let him be okay. Please let him be okay. The doors opened, and Armin was inside. He saw my face and immediately stepped forward. What happened? My son, I said breathlessly. He's sick. How bad? High fever. He pressed the button to close the doors again. I'll drive you. That's not necessary. It is. There was no room to argue. The ride was silent except for the sound of my uneven breathing. He drove faster than usual, jaw tight, eyes focused. You'll scare him if you panic, he said quietly. I'm not panicking. You're trembling. I looked down at my hands. He was right. When we reached the school, I rushed out before the car fully stopped. I found my son lying on a small bed in the nurse's office, cheeks flushed, eyes half closed. Mo. His weak voice nearly broke me. I knelt beside him, pressing my palm to his forehead. Burning. I'm here, I whispered. I'm here. Behind me, I sensed Armin's presence before I saw him. He stood near the doorway, not intruding, just watching. The nurse spoke gently. He needs to see a doctor. I'll take him, I said immediately. Armin stepped forward. There's a clinic 5 minutes from here. I know the pediatrician. I hesitated only for a second before nodding. At the clinic, while the doctor examined my son, I stood outside the room, arms wrapped tightly around myself. This is my fault, I muttered. Armin frowned. I've been distracted. With work. With everything. He studied me carefully. Children get sick, Hana. That's not a punishment. But guilt doesn't listen to reason. When the doctor came out, he reassured us it was just a viral infection. Medicine, rest, fluids. Nothing life-threatening. Still, when I carried my son to the car, he clung to me like he was afraid I might disappear. Back at my apartment, Armin helped carry the medicine upstairs. You don't have to stay, I said softly. I know. But he didn't leave. He stood awkwardly in the small living room, looking completely out of place among the modest furniture and faded curtains. My son watched him from the couch. Mama, he whispered, tugging my sleeve. Who is he? I froze. Armin crouched down to my son's eye level. I'm your mom's boss, he said gently. My name is Armin. My son studied him suspiciously. You look young. Despite everything, I almost smiled. I get that a lot, Armin replied. Are you going to fire my mama? The question pierced the air. Armin's expression shifted immediately. No, he said firmly. Your mom is the best person at her job. I'd be in trouble without her. My son seemed to consider this. Okay. He leaned back against the couch, exhausted. I led Armin toward the kitchen. You didn't have to do all this? I whispered. Yes, I did. You're my employer. And you're someone I care about. The word care again. I felt it pressing against my defenses. You saw how he looked at you. Armin continued quietly. Like you're his whole world. He is my whole world. I know. There was no jealousy in his tone. Only respect. I won't replace that, he said. I'm not asking you to. I wouldn't try. Silence settled between us, softer now. From the living room, my son called weakly. Mama? I went to him immediately. Can he stay? My son murmured, eyes half closed. I blinked. Who? Your boss. My heart stumbled. Why? He looks lonely. The words struck deeper than any accusation. I glanced toward the kitchen, where Armin stood pretending not to listen. He has his own home, I said gently. But you look less sad when he's here. I swallowed hard. Children saw everything. When I returned to the kitchen, I found Armin staring at a small framed photo on the shelf. It was of me and my late husband, taken years ago. I looked younger, lighter. Armin didn't touch the frame. He was handsome. He said quietly, "Yes, you loved him." "With everything I had." He nodded slowly. "I'm not competing with him. I know. I just want a chance to stand beside you now." Oh, my throat tightened. "You saw the photo," I said. "That woman doesn't exist anymore." He looked at me then, really looked at me. "She does," he said softly. "She's just tired." A tears burned behind my eyes. "I don't know how to be that person again." "You don't have to be her," he replied. "Just be you." The simplicity of it hurt. After giving instructions about the medicine, he finally moved toward the door. "I'll check in tomorrow," he said. "You don't have to. I want to." He paused before leaving. "Hannah?" "Yes." "I'm not waiting because I enjoy suffering." My chest tightened. "I'm waiting because you're worth it." And then he left. The apartment felt different after he was gone. Quieter. Colder. That night, as I lay beside my feverish son, I stared at the ceiling again. But this time, I wasn't thinking about what society would say. I wasn't thinking about age. I wasn't thinking about whispers. I was thinking about the way he knelt in front of my child without hesitation. The way he never tried to erase my past. The way he stood in my small kitchen like he belonged there. And for the first time in 3 years, hope didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like possibility. And that frightened me more than anything. Hope had a cruel way of making you forget how easily everything could be taken away. The next morning, my son's fever had lowered slightly. He slept peacefully, his small chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. I brushed my fingers through his hair and allowed myself a quiet breath of relief. My phone buzzed on the bedside table. A message from Armin. How is he? Simple. Direct. I stared at the screen longer than necessary before replying. Better. Fever's down. Almost instantly, 3 dots appeared. Good. I'll send some soup over. You don't have to. I know. I found myself staring at that word again. I know. He always seemed to know when to step forward and when to step back. It unsettled me how naturally he fit into spaces I had long ago closed off. Around noon, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, expecting a delivery boy. Instead, Armin stood there holding a thermos and a small paper bag. You said you'd send it? I said quietly. I don't trust delivery drivers with soup, he replied. Despite myself, a faint smile touched my lips. He noticed, and for a second, his entire face softened, as if he had witnessed something sacred. Inside, he checked on my son gently, speaking in that calm tone that made even adults listen. My son watched him with tired curiosity. Did you bring video games? My son asked weakly. Armin looked startled, then amused. No. Then what do you do? I work. That's boring. Armin let out a quiet laugh. The sound filled the small living room in a way that felt unfamiliar but not unwelcome. "You're right?" he said. "It is." I stood by the kitchen doorway, watching them. It looked natural. Too natural. As if they had known each other longer than a few days. When my son drifted back to sleep, Armin stepped onto the small balcony with me. The city stretched below us, restless and loud. Laundry swayed from neighboring balconies. Somewhere, a radio played an old love song. "I spoke to HR," he said carefully. My heart tightened. About what? About rumors. Cold air rushed through me. And? They won't dare say anything openly. That's not what I asked. He looked at me directly. They're talking. Of course they were. What exactly are they saying? I whispered. That I'm distracted. That you're strategic. A strategic. The word burned. As if I planned this. I asked bitterly. As if you're trying to secure your future. I felt humiliation creep up my neck. I don't need to trap anyone to survive, I said sharply. I know. But they don't. I don't care what they think. I do. I shot back. I have to live in that office. I have to endure those looks. His jaw tightened. I can announce it formally. My eyes widened. Announce what? That I'm interested in you. The absurdity of it nearly made me laugh. You think that will stop them? It will only confirm everything. He fell silent. You have power. I continued softly. I don't. Every step you take affects me differently. His expression shifted. Understanding slowly replacing frustration. I didn't think of it that way. I know. Silence lingered between us, heavy but not hostile. I don't want to hurt you, he said finally. Then don't make me your weakness. His eyes flickered at that. You're not my weakness. Then what am I? He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him again. You're the only thing that doesn't feel like an obligation. The honesty in his voice shook me. You don't need me, I whispered. That's where you're wrong. The wind picked up, tangling my hair around my face. This time, he didn't stop himself. His fingers gently moved the strands away. The touch was brief, respectful, but it sent a quiet tremor through me. Don't do that, I said, though my voice lacked strength. Touch you? Make it harder to walk away. He lowered his hand slowly. Are you walking away? The question hovered between us like fragile glass. I don't know, I admitted, and that was the truth. A week later, I returned to work. The whispers were no longer subtle. Conversations paused when I entered rooms. Eyes followed me down hallways. I heard my name wrapped in half, sentences and muffled laughter. I kept my head down. But pain has a way of accumulating. During a meeting, one of the senior managers, Mr. Kadir, spoke up unexpectedly. Perhaps we should be careful about favoritism, he said casually, glancing in my direction. It affects morale. The room fell silent. Armin's expression hardened. "Clarify," he said calmly. "I'm just saying." Kadir continued smoothly. "Promotions and responsibilities should be based on merit, not personal preference." The insult hung in the air. My face burned. Armin leaned back in his chair, eyes cold. "Are you questioning her merit?" he asked. "I'm questioning optics." "Then improve your performance so optics aren't your biggest concern." The dismissal was sharp enough to slice, but it didn't undo the damage. After the meeting, I locked myself in the restroom and finally allowed tears to fall. Not loud sobs, just quiet, exhausted tears. Why was it always like this? Why did happiness have to come wrapped in humiliation? A soft knock interrupted me. "Hannah?" It was him. I quickly wiped my face. "I'm fine." "No, you're not. I can handle it." I shouldn't have let him speak like that. You can't silence everyone. He was quiet for a moment. Then maybe I should step back. My heart skipped painfully. "What do you mean?" "If my feelings are hurting you." "They're not hurting me." I interrupted. "People are. And they're using me as the weapon." I didn't answer. Because he wasn't wrong. "I can transfer you to another department," he offered. "Less visibility." "And run?" I asked quietly. "That's not running. That's protecting you." "I'm tired of being protected," I whispered. "I've been protecting myself for years." Our eyes met. Something fragile passed between us. "I don't want to lose you," he said, voice lower now. The words hit differently this time. Not confident, not assured, just honest. "You don't have me," I replied softly. "Not yet." His hand twitched at his side, as if resisting the urge to reach for me. "What will it take?" he asked. I looked at him for a long moment. "It will take you understanding that loving me isn't romantic," I said. "It's complicated. It's messy. It means loving my child. It means accepting that some nights I'll still cry over someone else. It means being patient when I push you away." He didn't hesitate. "I can do that." "You say that now." "I'll still say it when it's hard." I searched his face for doubt. I didn't find any. And that scared me even more than the rumors. Because if he was truly serious, then I was the only thing still standing in the way. And I wasn't sure how much longer. I could keep pretending that I didn't want him to break down that wall. And I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep pretending that I didn't want him to break down that wall. The rumors didn't fade. They grew sharper. 2 weeks later, I was called into HR. The room smelled like stale air and quiet judgment. The HR manager folded her hands neatly on the table and offered me a sympathetic smile that felt rehearsed. "We've received complaints." She began carefully. "About my work?" I asked. "About boundaries." I felt something inside me go still. "There is concern," she continued. That your relationship with the CEO is influencing workplace dynamics. Relationship. The word felt premature and dangerous. There is no relationship, I said evenly. She tilted her head slightly. Intent matters too. Intent. As if love, if that's what this was, could be regulated like office policy. I have never asked for favors, I said quietly. I have never received special treatment. That may be true, she replied. But perception can damage the company. I understood what she wasn't saying. Remove yourself, or we will. When I stepped out of that room, my legs felt heavy. The hallway blurred slightly as I walked back to my desk. Armin was waiting outside his office. He knew. Of course he knew. What did they say? He asked, voice tight. That I'm a liability. His face darkened instantly. That's unacceptable. It's practical, I corrected. They can't fire you. No, I said softly. But they can make it unbearable. His hands curled into fists at his sides. I'll shut it down. Ugh, you can't. Watch me. And prove them right, I asked gently. He went silent. That evening, after everyone had left, I walked into his office without knocking. He looked up immediately, relief flickering across his face when he saw me. I was about to come find you. I'm resigning. The words landed between us like a dropped glass. He stood slowly. It's the simplest solution. For who? For everyone. His eyes searched mine desperately. Don't do this. I won't let my name be dragged through mud because of feelings I'm not even brave enough to admit. Then admit them, he said hoarsely. I felt tears press against my vision. I care about you, I whispered. More than I should. The room fell into stunned silence. Then why are you leaving? He asked. Because caring about you is costing you respect. It's costing me dignity. You think I care about respect more than you? You should. I don't? I shook my head. You built this company on your father's legacy. Don't let me be the crack in its foundation. He stepped closer, stopping just inches away. You're not a crack, he said quietly. You're the only thing that makes me question whether this building is worth more than a real life. My breath trembled. I have lived carefully for 3 years, I said. Every step measured, every choice practical. And then you came and made everything unstable. Love is unstable, he replied. The word hung there. Love. He had finally said it. I'm afraid, I admitted. I know. I'm afraid of losing you. You won't. You can't promise that. No. He agreed softly. But I can promise I won't walk away when it gets hard. A tear slid down my cheeks now, unstoppable. I can't lose another person I love. His hand lifted slowly, hesitantly, and this time I didn't pull away when he touched my face. I'm not replacing him, he whispered. I'm choosing you. The weight of those words shattered something inside me. For years, I had survived. I had functioned. I had endured. But I had not allowed myself to be chosen again. The next morning, I submitted my resignation anyway. Armin didn't try to stop me publicly. He respected my decision, even as I saw the quiet devastation in his eyes. On my last day, I packed my desk slowly. The office felt colder, distant. Colleagues avoided my gaze, unsure whether to pity me or judge me. As I carried my box toward the exit, Armin stood near the doors. Not as a CEO, just as a man. "Is this goodbye?" he asked quietly. "It doesn't have to be." "Then what is it?" "A test," I said. "If what we feel survives outside these walls, then it's real." His expression softened. "And if it doesn't?" "Then at least it wasn't built on power." He stepped closer, close enough that I could hear the unsteady rhythm of his breathing. "I'll come tonight," he said. "Not as your boss." My heart pounded. "Come as what?" "As someone who loves you." The simplicity of it made my knees weak. That evening, when he knocked on my apartment door, my son ran to answer it. "You came back," my son said seriously. I said I would. My son stepped aside to let him in. I watched from the kitchen, heart trembling. Armin looked around the small space, no longer out of place. He set down a simple bouquet of flowers on the table. "I don't have an office anymore," I said softly. He smiled gently. "Good. I never wanted you there forever." My son tugged at his sleeve. "Are you going to stay?" Armin looked at me before answering. "If your mom lets me." I held his gaze for a long, quiet moment. The fear was still there. The grief was still there. But so was something else. Hope. "Stay," I whispered. He stepped closer, carefully, as if approaching something fragile. "I don't promise perfection," he said. "I don't promise we won't struggle. But I promise I won't leave when it's inconvenient." I nodded slowly. "I don't promise I won't have bad days," I replied. "I don't promise I won't compare you to a memory." "I'm not afraid of memories," he said gently. "I'm afraid of never being given the chance." And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like survival was my only option. I felt chosen. Not because I was young. Not because I was convenient. Not because I was easy. But because I was me. Armin reached for my hand. And this time, I didn't pull away. Outside, the city lights flickered like distant stars. Inside, something broken began, slowly and painfully, to heal.